have a chance to hear from you all tonight in the ways that we would like to, but we encourage everyone to use the chat and engage with us through that way. So, we'd love to hear your experiences as we report out on our program. And if you have any questions or comments, we have a few questions for all of you. So we'd love to hear from you. The first question being, where are you coming from today and how are you connected to Grow Food Northampton, or if you're new? So I'll give a few more minutes for people to trickle in and get comfortable. And now I will just properly introduce myself. So my name is Megan. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator at Grow Food Northampton. I've been with the organization for about 1.5 years now, and it's been incredible to be a part of all the work that we do in our community, and I'm really excited to celebrate 10 years with you all. I want to give a chance for all of our staff to wave hello so you all get familiar with our faces as we'll be reporting out tonight. Awesome. And I would, with all that said, I'd like to pass the virtual mic to our Executive Director, Alisa Klein, and our Board President, Hope, to say a few welcoming words. I don't actually see Hope on here yet. Is she in the waiting room, Michael? No. All right.
She may be having a hard time in her rural location with her Zoom. I know that happens for her sometimes.
Absolutely.
6:31. Let's give her another second or two.
All right. Give folks some time to engage in the chat. You got some fans, Alisa.
Joan and Jane.
Hope has arrived.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Hope.
Hope, we're ready for you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Get right to it.
Yeah, right to it. Excellent. So hi, everyone. I'm really excited for this evening's event. It's really be great to see everyone in person, but I'm glad that we're getting together on screen. And I just wanted to take a moment to give out some gratitude to those who make this work possible. My name is Hope. I am the president of the board of directors for Grow Food Northampton, and I have been with the organization for many years and on the board for the past 6. And I started actually leading farm field trips with the organization when we were just starting to get into education with the schools. I am really grateful to be able to do this work on the land. And the land, as Gabby, one of my fellow board members, will often speak of, is really what grounds us in this work. It's a really precious piece of land that we are now the stewards of, but I want to acknowledge that it is the ancestral lands of the Nipmuc and Pecumtuck peoples who stewarded the land for hundreds of years before European colonization and genocide. And so we just acknowledge that we are on that space and give gratitude for the opportunity that we have, but also acknowledging the hard past that comes with that opportunity. I also want to thank the farmers who are currently stewarding our land, and Farmer Nate and his crew at Crimson and Clover, and Susan and Sawmill Farm, and Joe and Diego and Song Sparrow. We're really grateful to have such amazing farmers helping us with this work. And all of our community gardeners, hundreds of community gardeners who help to make the community garden such a vibrant place as well. I am always blown away by the work of our staff. We are so grateful to have Alisa with us. A year ago, I was reflecting that we were in the midst of the search process, and I'm just so grateful that she came to us when she did, and has really been such a leader of the organization. But she couldn't do it without the team. Michael, Pat, Nikki, Elena, Francie, Jules, Megan, Rowan, we are all so grateful to all of you. And I am grateful for my fellow board members. You know, we're a tough little team. Some of us have been around for a while and some of us are newer. And I'm grateful for all of you, Amy, Caitlin, Sherry, Donna, Gabby, Jen, and Susan for hanging in there and going through this journey together. For all of our volunteers who, if you haven't seen our social media feed recently, are all getting acknowledged there. So please check that out because you'll get to see a little bit of the stories of why our volunteers volunteer. I've been really touched by that. I'm imagining Megan is behind that. Thank you, Megan. And I also just want to send love out there to all of our donors and supporting organizations and agencies who make the work possible by giving their financial support to make it happen. We couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you to everyone. Just want to raise a glass to today, to tonight, to the future, to Grow Food Northampton. Thank you all for helping to make it possible. Cheers.
Thank you for the toast, Hope. It's wonderful to work with you. Hi, everybody. I'm Alisa Klein. For those of you who don't know me, I am Grow Food Northampton's Executive Director. Welcome to my kitchen. It's perhaps not the most dignified of settings, but it is in keeping with the casual ethos of our organization and the work that we do. We are so glad to have you here with us to celebrate 10 years of Grow Food Northampton's existence to build and strengthen a just and sustainable and resilient food system for our area. It was with remarkable foresight that Grow Food Northampton's founders created this organization. Thank you so much to Lily Lombard and Adele Franks, who I think is here somewhere, and so many others who helped to establish the organization. They secured the preservation of 121 acres of prime farmland in Florence 10 years ago. And it was in an era of massive loss of farmland in our state. This prescient act, along with the launch of all kinds of robust programming to provide our community with the knowledge, the tools, and the land, the actual land, to grow food, provide food access to members of our community who struggle financially, and to push back against the climate emergency. This is what makes our organization a small but mighty and righteous giant. I'm so proud of the work that Grow Food Northampton does. The founders knew back then, and we know today, that access to food and land to grow food is at the very heart of democracy. It's at the very heart of social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. This is the work that we do here at Grow Food Northampton. I started with the organization in mid-January this year, and I'd been on the job for just 2 months before COVID hit Western Massachusetts. And as it did for everyone, the pandemic really compelled the organization to pivot in all kinds of ways. We were grappling with the reality of a crumbling food system at the national level, and with the fact that at the local level, the financial bottom was falling out for community members. In fact, food insecurity doubled in the first couple of months of the pandemic. At the same time, the local farms that we know well and work with and that are vendors at our Tuesday market were just entering their spring season, their growing season, and they were confronted with shutdown of a lot of their markets and were worried that they would have to plow under their fields. The kids that we normally teach in Northampton's public schools were home from school and they couldn't gather on our farm to do the field trips that we do every year. Community members were clamoring for a place to grow their own food during the pandemic. And initially we were told that we wouldn't be able to open the Tuesday market, our farmers market in downtown Northampton. But what's amazing about the organization is that we were able to pivot to address all of those needs. And you'll hear about that in the hour to come. But what's most important to me, what I want to emphasize is that we were able to make these pivots because of the amazing foundation that was laid out for our organization when it was founded. And because of the ways in which in the last 10 years, Grow Food has thoughtfully developed our programs, our community relationships, the land that we steward, and foremost, it's the remarkable people that are involved with our organization. The amazing Grow Food staff, about which I can't say enough good, and it's you, all of you, our community of volunteers and donors and gardeners and farmers, and our elected officials who create thoughtful policy that supports the work that we do every day. Speaking of which, I want to acknowledge, I believe we have in the House 2 of our Northampton City Councilors, Rachel Maori of Ward 7 and Michael Quinlan of Ward 1. Thank you both for being here. And I'm going to pass the mic now to some of our beloved, wondrous elected officials. Congressman Jim McGovern has long fought to ensure food access, excuse me, in our district and beyond. From participating every year in Monty's March to support the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts, to introducing federal food security legislation like Healthy Breakfasts Help Kids Learn Act, to delivering his famous Food Security is National Security speech on the House floor, Congressman McGovern has proven himself a leader in the promotion of food security and food justice. Senator Joe Comerford is here with us, and I'm not sure if Lindsay Sabadosa was able to make it. She was just about to take a vote on the very important Roe Act, but Lindsay was supposed to be here if she's not. Both of them have been majestic forces for good, for food security and sustainable agriculture here in Massachusetts. We're so lucky to have them. They support the work we do at Grow Food in all kinds of important ways. We're just so grateful to have these wonderful elected officials supporting our work and working with us on food security and sustainable agriculture. And with that, I will pass the mic to Congressman McGovern. Thank you to everyone for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words, and I want to send them right back at you because I appreciate all of your great leadership. So good evening, everybody. I'm not Molly McGovern, I'm Jim McGovern. Molly's my daughter. That's my name is showing up as Molly here, but this is her laptop. I left mine at work, and I can't figure out how to change the name, neither can my wife. So anyway, I would like to thank Grow Food Northampton for all of your incredible, and I mean incredible, volunteers who generously donate their time and resources to provide food to low-income families in the community. I am proud to have an organization like Grow Food Northampton in my district, and your community food distribution project supports our local farms while getting fresh, local, organic food to members of the community who are experiencing food insecurity. Your community garden has provided hundreds of plots during the pandemic for people to grow their own food. And collectively, you've grown over 8,500 pounds of organic produce to donate to organizations preparing meals for those in need. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, I've spent a great deal of time in my career sounding the alarm on hunger and food insecurity. Before COVID-19, there were nearly 40 million Americans who were food insecure. But in the past year, the pandemic has added a new dimension to food insecurity. It has shined a light on problems we always knew were there, but that many were not working proactively to address. According to Project Bread, hunger in Massachusetts has skyrocketed. Food insecurity in Massachusetts has doubled since the beginning of the pandemic. And nationwide, numbers are just as alarming. 15% of Americans are now food insecure. That's 50 million people, 50 million people. Not to mention communities of color are being disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 in many ways. Black and Latino households with children are now twice as likely as white households with children to be food insecure. Similar to our criminal justice system, our healthcare system suffers from widespread implicit bias. COVID-19 did not create the racial disparities that we are seeing today. It simply magnified them in unbelievable ways. So the pandemic is showing us the importance of being proactive rather than reactive with our country's social safety net programs. If we prioritize things like SNAP and unemployment and education and healthcare and proper nutrition earlier, I don't think we would be playing catch up right now. But despite all the difficulties of the year, it brings me comfort to work with organizations like Grow Food Northampton that have been prioritizing issues like food insecurity since the very beginning. You know, I say over and over and over again that hunger and food insecurity are essentially political conditions. I mean, we can solve these problems. We just have to have the political will. So in addition to the importance of your work providing direct assistance to people in need, you are also serving as an example and a voice of what more we need to do. You know, if more people thought of food insecurity in the ways that the people on this potluck did, I think the state of food insecurity would look very differently today. So I want to thank you all for your hard work and advocacy. I am always honored to be on any call with my colleagues that you mentioned, the city councilors, but also Joe Comerford and Lindsay Sabadosa, who are great, great heroes of mine as well. But to all of you, I mean, you know, this has been a tough 4 years. Let me just say this. And sometimes you wonder where the goodness is in this country. And tonight we are celebrating that goodness. And, you know, I really, really do appreciate the work of everybody on this call. I look forward to seeing some of you. We're going to have a socially distanced Monty's March in a couple of weeks. And so I'll maybe see you along the road as we're walking 43 miles. But all of this stuff is important, and all of you are incredibly important. And I just feel very proud to represent this organization, and I wish you all the best tonight. Thank you.
Alisa, should I jump in? Okay, super. I just want to check with Rep. Sabadosa just to see if it's better for you to go first, Rep, since you're in session.
No, you can go right ahead. My colleagues are giving long speeches, so we have a little time.
Very good. Okay. So first of all, Congressman McGovern, oh my goodness, you always inspire us with your vision for a just and sustainable nation. And I feel so lucky to have you represent me personally. And I just join you and Rep. Sabadosa and all of us in celebrating Grow Food Northampton. I was thinking about tonight, and I was thinking that I remember the early days of the excitement about Grow Food Northampton and what it was going to bring to the region. I'm sure many of you do. You know, I just remember thinking, what just a perfect idea, and how lucky I was to be in a place that would throw down on behalf of sustainable food and a food system and our farmers. And over the years, you know, just seeing how Grow Food Northampton has grown in so many moving ways. My kids have visited Hope on the farm, you know, among them. And I've just seen the way that you've worked for equity, for sustainability, for justice in our community. And then COVID hit. And I have to say that the work that Grow Food Northampton led was just unparalleled in its grit and determination and grace. I saw Michael at work at the Food Distribution Center. Go Michael, moving unbelievably huge amounts of food, but also taking care to make sure that it was ethnically and racially accessible, that people were getting the choices they need, even in the middle of this pandemic. It was beautiful, and your commitment to fresh food and supporting our farmers, even as you helped move out the MIFAP and other USDA food from the food bank through the Survival Center, was brilliant. It was brilliant. And seeing now the way in which you want to grow toward embracing more racial justice and a deeper commitment to equity is absolutely, I think, what's needed. And I am proud to represent you as well, as Jim said. So proud. You know, when I got to the legislature, and I can't believe it's coming up on 2 years that I'll be there. Sometimes it feels like 2 minutes, sometimes it feels like 20 years. You know, I knew that this committee cared about local food. So I got myself onto the Food Systems Caucus, and I'm proud to co-chair that, onto the Food Policy Council. And Alisa was there today and is going to rock the Massachusetts Food Policy Council. And then I'm on the governor's food security task force. And it's not because I thought those were good ideas. It's because you thought they were good ideas. It's because I represent a place like Grow Food Northampton and had to get smart about how the state needed to do better business on behalf of you. And I will say that led from the bottom, and it is the kind of examples that Grow Food Northampton is putting forward for the entire Commonwealth, the state is turning toward a greater commitment toward some of the emergency food sources like MeFAP, the Massachusetts Emergency Food Assistance Program. That will get a record high $30 million in the budget this year. The Healthy Incentives Program, which is a huge favorite of mine, it partners with Congressman McGovern's commitment to SNAP. Will get another record amount and a commitment on the part of the state to go to a greater number of diversity of farmers and a greater diversity of homes. And that's, I see Hope nodding, and that's been long in coming. And we have to expand HIP and expand HIP equitably. And the Food Security Task Force will take up a conversation about strategic, equitable sustainability of the Healthy Incentives Program for the first time since the program got started. And again, that's not because the legislature or the governor thought that was a good idea. It's because people told us, people like you, people like Grow Food Northampton told us it was a good idea. And you will hold us accountable for seeing it through. So there's much more we can and should be doing at the state level to create greater equitability around food, to create greater systems change, to sort of work ourselves out of a job, if you will, in the emergency food provision. We have to help our farmers more. We certainly have to make it better and easier to preserve land for community gardens and for farmers. We have to welcome a next generation of farmers and increase the diversity of people who are able to farm the land. And we will do this with you, in partnership with you. So I'm going to now stop, but just please just accept my heartfelt thanks for all you do. And I'm excited to celebrate 10 amazing years, and here's to 10, many more than 10 more.
Well, thank you everyone for having me here this evening. It is true the House is in the midst of debating the budget, and in particular, we are about to vote on the Roe Act, which, looking at the people in attendance this evening, so many of you have written to my office about. So I'm grateful to be able to take that vote, and I'm grateful to spare a few minutes. Grow Food Northampton is probably the only organization that I would leave the House floor to come and make sure that I could celebrate, but here I am. I have the enormous privilege in the House of being the person who champions Grow Food Northampton. So most of my colleagues know exactly what kind of work you do and how beautifully you do it. Not only the ways in which you address food insecurity, but the ways in which you bring healthy food into our schools and to our children, for which I'm very grateful. But I want to take a special moment this evening to talk about community and the way Grow Food Northampton has created community, particularly during this pandemic. And I'm looking in the chat and I realize now that this is a potluck. So this is typical for me. I am at a potluck and I have forgot to bring anything. Normally that means I'd grab a bottle of wine and be done. I won't do this evening since we're voting, but a potluck is community, right? And that's what Grow Food does. It creates community. So this summer, Senator Comerford talked about how Grow Food turned on a dime during the pandemic and recreated its model and made sure that people were being served. And I had the opportunity to volunteer thanks to Alisa reaching out and saying, hey, you're going to come do this, right? And so of course I did. And you never know during a pandemic what volunteering is going to look like. It's a little bit different, but I got to show up and be with people, which I think is something we've just all missed so much. We're all here in these Zooms and we see each other's faces. And I think one of the things we take away is how much we miss each other. But Grow Food broke that down and found safe ways for people to come together over food, which is what we do as humans. We come together over food. And so I know many of you on this call tonight, You were there far more often than I was. You were there every week. You were there the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. You were loading really heavy boxes in those horrible plastic gloves that are just so sticky. I don't know how you do that all the time. But I'm grateful that you did it, because when I went to Hampshire Heights and saw children look at the healthy, nutritious food and ask, is this a weed? What is this? It meant that we were opening up people's minds and appetites and creating conversations about what nutrition looks like, about what we can put on the dinner table. And the fact that just because someone is food insecure doesn't mean they have to eat out of a can. They get vegetables, they get fruits, they deserve that dignity. And Grow Food Northampton understands that, I think, better than just about any other group I have ever encountered, and I am very grateful for that. So I will close because I have to go vote, but thank you so much to the volunteers, to the donors, to the people who make this organization the magical place it is, because it is magical. I am so proud to represent you. I am so grateful for these 10 years. I don't want another 10 years of food insecurity, but I want another 10 years of that magic in the community that you create. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Wow, I'm about to tear up here. That was so inspirational. Let's get to our program reflections and hear about all the things that we have been up to this year in our 10th anniversary year. I want to kick it off with our Grow Food Kids program. So I'll pass it to Elena and Jules to report on what they've been up to.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elena, and I'm first going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you twice. First, I'm going to talk to you with my Grow Food Kids hat on. And so I manage the Grow Food Kids program, which is our education program in the elementary school, which we're currently expanding into the middle and high school, which Megan will mention later. And just want to first start to say like why it's so important. On the thread of community and what we're all here, and even just like being together outside, and how the education program is really important. And I'm excited about it because we get to play and work and be together outside an outdoor learning space and connect with each other and with the place that we live. And that's like through our field trips, and our classroom workshops are just about bringing the world into the classroom when it's too cold to go outside. And like I come with my bag of branches and leaves, and we do activities inside, and we make food together. And it's just like a way to, eat together and be together in a communal way and be learning through that play, and also aligning with the curriculum. And Michael's going to show a few slides about our field trips. So I know it's hard for me to even think back before the pandemic, but last fall we did host field trips to Crimson and Clover Farm, which we do every fall, except for not this one, unfortunately and sadly. But so last year we hosted 22 field trips, which is half of all of the K through 3 classes in Northampton Public Schools. And so an example, the field trip that you see here is the 2nd grade curriculum of goods and services, and we connected how students came and harvested potatoes and cleaned garlic to give to the farm store at Crimson and Clover so that it would be ready for sale, and that could connect to their curriculum. So that's just one example of how we're working with teachers to be able to support them. And and this winter we led classroom workshops where we reached over 500 students. And even though we were cut short in March by the pandemic and we had to stop, but we still were able to lead several successful workshops in the schools. And now I get to introduce Jules, who's our newest member of the team, our TerraCore member, and show a little video.
Hi everyone, I'm Jules. I'm the TerraCore Youth Education and Community Engagement Coordinator for the 2021 year. We're going to show a little video sort of demonstrating the virtual programming that we've developed since the pandemic started. So here's that. Yeah, so as you saw in that video, we've developed sort of a variety of virtual educational stuff. Most recently, our take-home recipe kits, which were sort of developed in order to make all of our cooking courses, our cooking classes accessible to everyone from home. And we reached over 130 students the entire second grade of the Northampton Public Schools so far, and are just about to move to third grade. And they're a way of supporting students in their remote learning with, you know, like a tactile and fun activity, and also that one that connects them to the food that they're eating by teaching them how to prepare it themselves. And then finally, we just co-hosted a couple socially distanced fall events with Hope, who you heard from earlier, of School Sprouts, and Gwen, who's also, I think, here. And we led arts and crafts and some like pumpkin painting and gardening activities like garlic planting and mulching with the youth who lived in that neighborhood, at the Hampshire Heights neighborhood. And that's sort of in a way, and it allows us to offer place-based learning as an alternative to our farm field trips, and that we like bring that garden programming right to their doorstep. And we're currently expanding that to Florence Heights, where we just had a garden built. And then to Meadowbrook, we're doing an event in the next couple weeks. So there's plenty more to come with Grow Food Kids in the next few months, even under these circumstances.
Thanks, Jules and Elena. So sweet. I'd love to touch a little bit more on Farm to School, the broader picture as we expand to bring our educational programs to the high school and middle school. There are a few things that I want to touch on. One being how in the high school we've been working really closely with some students to create programming around agriculture and you know, healthy eating. And so as you can see the slideshow, this is our Farm to School committee meeting. So we brought together so many different folks to include more voices. We have, you know, students there, we have admin, provost, teachers, and community members, which is really exciting to just include everyone in creating these programs together. Like we've all been saying, just like that community thread at the forefront is really important to us. But going back to what I was saying with working with the students to create the programs, that's been one of my favorite parts. We've been working with intern currently, Rihanna, who is actually on here. If you scroll, if Rihanna wants to say hello, wave hello. She's been working on some really, really cool projects to engage students with healthy cooking, with local produce, farm fresh produce that we've included in the school meal program, which we'll talk about in a bit. And, you know, she's been doing interviews with farmers to get the stories of all the local agriculture out there to students and parents. It's mostly through our social media page. She's been managing that, which is really exciting. I will send a link in the chat to that if anyone wants to keep up with our work that way. But it's been really great to work with students with all of this programming to really build student leadership and just watch them, you know, channel their passions for agriculture and, you know, sustainable food. So that's been one of my favorite highlights of this year. Another thing that I'd like to note is Grow Food Northampton has been able to purchase thousands of pounds of produce, farm fresh produce for the school meal program. So we have our food service director, Ms. Stell, here, who I'm wondering if she wants to say a few words about how that has impacted her program.
Well, hello, I'm Ms. Stell, the food service director for Northampton Public Schools. How it's impacted our program. So, you know, back in the winter last year, we were really just starting to kick off our farm to cafeteria and getting out there to the middle schools and everything, and then COVID hit and our students were no longer in the cafeteria, so we weren't sure how and what we were going to do, and collaboration with Grow Foods Northampton has been so significant to keeping that farm to school connection going. Thanks to the donations and collaboration with Grow Foods, we have been able to serve 2 to 3 servings of local fresh produce in our meal bags every week to kids that are remote learning. We've been doing the remote meal program since March. We've been serving about 82,000 meals since then, so that equals a lot of pounds of fresh produce. And again, the collaborations just really made it so significant and rewarding and wonderful and helpful and great for the students of Northampton, as well as the wonderful Instagram pictures and posts. So you can make your own salads with the local lettuce and cucumbers and tomatoes, and dispersing massive sweet potatoes the size of small children at some of our stops. And we've just continued to make it work every week, and it's just been wonderful. Thank you, Grow Foods.
Thank you, Estelle. Yeah, I still have been working on my one massive sweet potato tonight. All right, so let's get to our Grow Food Shares program. I will pass it to Elena again to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the Giving Garden this year.
Okay, yes, hello again. Other people will also talk. So now I'm speaking with my Giving Garden hat on, which is closely related to the education program, as you saw in the little video and all the ways that they intersect. So this has been my third season at the Giving Garden, and I've really been able to see it grow and evolve into its niche in our community, and see the partnerships and start to build more community in the Giving Garden over these years. And really, it thrives because of the people who are part of it and the organizations that are connected to it. And Michael's going to show some slides again. Also, I think that there are some of this summer's interns on this call right now, and you can wave, or maybe your screen's off, but I saw Karina here, and maybe Mackenzie and Audrey. And so we had a really great intern team, and also the organizations who are recipients of our produce. That's Manna Community Kitchen, East Hampton Community Center, Starlight Center, and CSO Respite. We donated produce to them every week, and yes, it was almost 9,000 pounds of food, which is a small number compared to the amount of food that is part of our other programs, but also it's a valued produce that got to people who really wanted it and used it. And I got these beautiful photos from Lee. Some of them I took when I would go and drop off food at the community kitchen, and he was always sending me photos of the tomatoes roasting in the oven and all the different experiments that he was making, and the shiitake mushrooms. And and the other parts of our Giving Garden are that it's this outdoor classroom, and it's this living laboratory where we can experiment with different agricultural practices that are regenerative, and also educate ourselves and educate the community. And so with all of the volunteers that are listed on the screen, I will get to that, but we were still able to do our no-till practices and compost and mulch, and be together in the space, talk about like being outside in a way that was welcoming and safe. During this year, we weren't able to host large groups, but hopefully we will be able to do that again soon. And so we hosted with the help of over 40 volunteers that contributed over 300 hours. And I know that many of you are here. Some of our stellar volunteers are in this potluck right now. And so couldn't do it without you. And yeah, and it's just a really special place to be able to go. So thanks.
Thanks, Elena. Those recipes that Lee made, I really, really would like him to share them because they look delicious, especially that pizza. All right, in the essence of time, we'll move right along to our community food distribution project, which is our newest project that came to life out of the pandemic. And here's a little video about it to introduce us.
Grove and Northampton got involved in this community food distribution project when the Northampton Survival Center's building had to shut down due to COVID. We came together with the Survival Center and Community Action of Pioneer Valley to rapidly come up with a new system to get food to people. On a weekly basis, we're serving with the Survival Center around 600 households. So in terms of individuals, it's more like 1,000. Many of those people are served every single week. Some come some weeks and not the next. Northampton is distributing to 11 different sites on our 2 distribution days. So we're able to set up at a housing community and distribute to people's doorsteps when people at a time are very afraid to leave their apartments in some cases. So let's not let that be a barrier to them meeting their food needs.
Getting fresh food delivered has been really incredible because, you know, not being able to move about as much as normal, and then having stuff come to me, and then me being able to do fun stuff like look up recipes online or make stuff up. You know, I really like to cook, so, you know, cooking for me and figuring out new recipes, you know, like planning recipes and doing stuff with food items that I may not have used before is really, really fun. And, you know, it's really helpful, and it makes me feel healthy when I eat cookies.
Community has come together in this incredible way for this community food distribution project. Grow Food Northampton has a really unique role. We are purchasing fresh, organic vegetables from our local farmers so that we can keep them afloat during this time. We are sharing the produce with the Survival Center, and the Survival Center is sharing all of the shelf-stable goods and other products with us. So 5 days a week, we're giving out food. People have come from all different businesses and organizations to donate to the project, to donate their time, to donate goods. We are so excited about how much the community has come forward until now, and we are going to continue this project for the long haul. We will continue to supply food for people who are experiencing food insecurity, and we really need cash donations. We need people to continue to volunteer, and they can be in touch with us with any kinds of creative ideas that they have about how they might be able to help support the community food distribution project.
Hi everyone, I am Francie. I am the Food Access Coordinator at Grow Food Northampton. I oversee the Community Food Distribution Project, which you just saw at work in that lovely video. You know, watching that video actually makes me realize just how much the CFDP, as we affectionately call it, has grown in the past few months. I think in that video, which was made, I think in July, Michael mentions that we were serving about 600 households and 1,000 individuals. And now 4 months later, that's more like 800 households and 1,900 individuals. We've also expanded a bit geographically and now serve 14 sites instead of 11. And in terms of farms, we've so far supported 18 farms and spent about $60,000 on fresh local produce, and we're budgeted to spend about $90,000 by the end of the year. You know, so those are the metrics that allow people to get an overview of the kind of large-scale impact that the CFDP has in our community. But I think it's equally valuable to look at the specific ways that the CFDP has helped people during this pandemic. You know, these deliveries have meant that, you know, people who work during the survival center's shorter pandemic hours can still get the food that allows them to stretch their budgets further. It's meant that people who are immunocompromised or who have loved ones who are immunocompromised can choose to limit their outside contact without having to trade off on food security. And I think the CFDP has also really fulfilled a need that existed, you know, even before COVID happened. People who, you know, due to lack of transportation or physical limitations, have never been able to access the survival center or, you know, fresh local organic produce, now have access to all of these things because of the CFDP. You know, of course, none of this would be possible at all without our amazing and dedicated community of volunteers. Over the last 8 months, we've seen about 90 different people step up to deliver food and help their neighbors in need. Some of them, like Karen is here, and I mean, Diana's not here, but I know there are a bunch of people here who, you know, some of them have volunteered every Tuesday since the program began. That's like 8 months of every Tuesday coming. Some of them have showed up either every Tuesday or every Thursday over the summer. I have one volunteer who I think is here can't see her right now, but Emmy shows up every Tuesday and Thursday right now with her kids, Sid and Sasha. And I have another volunteer who comes all the way from Agawam with his pickup truck whenever we need him. I just call him up and he just appears. You know, we've heard a lot of definitions of community tonight. And I feel like everything I've just described is just like another aspect of it. It's like people showing up for each other in a really sustained, dependable way in a time of need. You know, and I just want to take a moment. I know everyone kind of has a beverage. If you've still got some left, I would like to really raise a glass to all these volunteers who have been the backbone of the CFDP. Gunbei, which is Chinese for cheers. So looking ahead, we're going to continue to deliver throughout the winter and the spring and the summer. I mean, COVID's not going anywhere, unfortunately, but, you know, as Alisa said in the video, we're really in it for the long haul. You know, all of you are welcome to join us at any time. I think what Lindsay said at the beginning about feeling like this is like a really great way to connect in a time when we're so isolated in a really safe way is completely accurate. I mean, I feel like for myself personally, it's really kind of saved my life during all of this. You know, and another thing we're doing is forming an advisory committee made up of residents of, you know, as many of the housing sites that we deliver to as possible, so that moving forward, the CFDP can be informed by their needs and their experiences. Because in the end, we don't want this to be just like a food delivery service. We want it to be a program that really works for, and, you know, insofar as possible, is led by the people that it serves. So with that, I am going to hand it back to Megan.
Apps. I just sent the link to the chat if you want to sign up and volunteer with the community food distribution. If you haven't already, I know a lot of you here are volunteers, so thank you for that. Now I will pass it along to our community farm to learn about what's going on at the land that we steward currently. So I'll let Michael kick it off.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael. I'm the Associate Director here at Grow Food Northampton. And I want to talk about the community farm. As Alisa mentioned, and Hope as well, the farm is really the backbone of this organization. And, you know, it's where Grow Food Northampton began and is the foundation for so many of the great things that you guys are hearing about right now. So I think it brings a number of values to the community and to Grow Food Northampton. One, kind of the most obvious, is that it keeps this 121 acres just outside the center of Florence in active farmland at a time when so many farms are going out of business and farmland is being developed. Second, it's a different model of farm ownership. So we're a nonprofit that owns a community farm, and that allows us to lead with values and lead with mission in front of profit. So we can relieve some of the pressure on farmers, on small farmers, that is exerted by private land ownership. And third, like I said, so many of these programs that we're hearing about stem from the farm and come from the farm. So we're able to bring kids to the farm and educate the community and school children. We're able to do community building at the community garden. And we're able to demonstrate ways we can combat the climate crisis through no-till farming at the Giving Garden and so forth. And then we can try to create a more just food system between the different farmers that are on the land and the Giving Garden. So much food is grown right here in Florence that is distributed to people that are not able to access fresh vegetables and healthy and local food right here in Northampton. So it's very exciting. We currently lease to 4 farms. I'm the Zoom wizard, so I have to share my own screen here. We're leasing to Diego of Song Sparrow Farm and Susan of Sawmill Herb Farm. And then also Crimson and Clover, who's sort of our anchor tenant with a 99-year lease. And then Joe Sykowski of Lakeside Organics. And Joe supplies a lot of the schools in the region. And also, if you've ever had a Mi Tierra tortilla, there's a good chance that he grew that corn right here in Florence organically. And we're very excited that we're very close to finalizing leases with 2 worker cooperatives for next year. One is Riquezas del Campo, which is a group of immigrant farm workers mostly, And then the second is a group of Somali Bantu farmers who are currently, they're 40 families who farm together, but they're currently scattered all throughout the valley on different parcels, and they are looking for a home base, and they want Grow Food Northampton land to be that home base. So it's really inspiring and exciting to think ahead to a even more diverse and exciting community farm. So I want to just ask Susan Pincus, who's the owner of Sawmill Herb Farm and also a board member, to chime in about what it means to her to farm with us.
Hello, hi. It's so nice to see all these people here. Yeah, I was just reflecting on what has it been like to be farming on this land for 8 years and to have watched the organization grow so much. And when I was first looking for land to farm on, I was imagining I would just be alone in the woods somewhere, basically, not needing much more than that. And what actually ended up happening is so much beyond that. Just the work that I'm doing, growing medicinal herbs, is just amplified by my relationships and collaborations with Grow Food Northampton and the people on that land and all the gardeners. It just goes so far beyond what I alone can do as a farmer to be in this community. And just really grateful for my relationship with Grow Food and how easy everyone has made it to be a farmer in this community. Just the support and outreach and willingness really to support farmers. So grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan, for sharing. We're so grateful that you've been on the land for 8 years. So moving right along, I know folks are really intrigued by the baby stream. If you haven't seen it, you should find the page and say hello to baby Annette. I would like to hand the virtual mic over to Nikki now to talk a little bit about our Tuesday market.
Hi, everyone. So great to see everyone tonight. I mean, this has just been major love fest and I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm Nikki. I've been with Grow Food for over 4 years now. I came to Grow Food Northampton as the market manager of Tuesday Market and also do more communications work now as well. But so Tuesday Market is our farmers market. It's every Tuesday, April to November, downtown Northampton. Became a program of Grow Food Northampton in 2016. And it existed as a festival sort of community space in the past. And, you know, this year became a different place for people to just access their food. Michael will start a little slideshow that I have. So every market starts off with Crabapple Farm ringing the bell that announces that the market's open. So this year it was extra special because it took a lot of work to get the market safely open during the pandemic. So you can see. So you can see we had a tiny market to start this past May because of the pandemic, and we had to make a ton of changes, including closing off the plaza and managing one entrance and exit. As you can see in the picture here, we had a limited customer capacity and had to manage a line and sanitizing, physical distancing and mask wearing enforcement. But even with all of these limitations, our vendors are amazing and still brought tons of beauty to the market every week. And it was still that same place where people come to like fuel their soul. Yeah, and so our normal market would have about 20 vendors every week, but this year, because of COVID, we only had about an average of 10. But even so, we still committed to our focus on SNAP matching and food access, and we're able to offer our SNAP match program where people could use $10 of their SNAP money and come away with $20 to go around the market and shop. And we also had, I think, 8 different farms that accepted HIP, the Healthy Incentives Program. So that made it a really attractive place for people to come and use their SNAP benefits. And yeah, so also new this year, we needed to use the help of volunteers to be able to do things like manage the line and the entrance and exit and all the different new safety precautions that we had to make. So all of these awesome people that you see on this slide helped us out this year, and I know some of them are here tonight, so thank you to all of them. And this list is all of the volunteers, but we also had several interns who helped us out this summer and fall, and I think at least 1 or 2 of them is here tonight, so thank you. And yeah, so I think, I'm not sure if I have any more slides, but so our market season ended this past Tuesday. It was like probably the best day of the entire season so far. So coming from where we were in May, where it felt really awkward and uncomfortable to even leave our houses, and we didn't know what it would be like if people would come or not, we ended up being able to add in a lot more of our normal elements of the market. And this past week ended with a beautiful day with music playing and a lot of people reuniting and community shared. And so still had that same feeling, but also a safe place for people to shop this year.
Woohoo. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
Yeah, incredible. What joy was still, there at the market, especially this last, market where it was so dark and beautiful. We had all the twinkle lights up. I realized that I skipped over another really, really important and amazing program that happens on our community farm and the land that we steward, and that is the community garden. So sorry to skip over that. I will hand it over to Pat, and I also do want to just say to everyone here that we're almost at 7:30, and it looks like we will go over until like about 7:45. So we'll hope that you can stay with us to hear the last remarks that we have and the last programs that we have to report and reflect on. But with that said, I will hand it over to Pat.
Thanks, Megan. Hi, everybody. So we are wrapping up our 9th season as a community garden, and we have a lot to be grateful for this year, including the fact that we welcomed over 80 new gardeners this year. And added a bunch of new plots. So we've now got 313 community garden plots. And we have a fairly substantial wait list for next year already, so we may be growing again. Most of us found the community garden this year to be a really peaceful respite from the stresses of the pandemic and the election, and a great place to be safely distanced from each other. We offered 2 new programs this year. Usually we have a little more programming, but distancing made that difficult. Gardener Holly Marin, an occupational therapist, obtained a small grant to support educational programming and equipment for gardeners dealing with disabilities and those of us dealing with, aging bodies. So thank you, Holly. And board member and master gardener Donna Wiley led a program to introduce our gardeners and the community to our new pollinator gardens in one corner of the garden. And if you haven't seen those, come over next spring, they're beautiful. Additionally, many gardeners volunteered for the Community Food Distribution Project on Tuesday Market. It was just fun just now to see those lists. and recognize so many gardeners' names on them. So thank you all. This year, the garden was particularly important for folks whose income changed or evaporated because of the pandemic. And, you know, providing people the ability to grow their own food is huge. We had a lot of gardeners who came in with little or no gardening experience, but fortunately we're a community, and communities support each other and teach each other, and that's what happened this year. I'm also really grateful for the community gardeners who have taken on parts of the garden that need caring on an ongoing basis. So we've got the medicine garden, the edible hedgerow, the bramble patch, and the newest program this year was the wonderful weather women who kept our gardeners informed of all kinds of frost, lightning, heat waves, drought, and rainfall in the garden, and did it in a way that really engaged people and helped us pay attention to what was going on around us. One of the things I'm really proud of in the garden is the way that we welcome in new gardeners is to help them to understand our relationship to the land in a way they might not have thought about before. So we don't talk about owning plots, we talk about stewarding the plots. And you've heard many people tonight talk about being stewards of the land. And so when we introduce the garden to people, we talk about the people who stewarded the land before us, the indigenous people in pre-colonial times, the abolitionists who used the land to demonstrate that critical crops could be grown without the labor of enslaved people. And then we also recognize the massive grassroots organizing that went into obtaining the land so that it could be placed under our stewardship going forward. So the land is special, and I know I've heard from so many gardeners who've said to me that when they get into the garden, they can feel something special emanating from the land, and I actually believe that's true. So as we garden in community with each other, you know, we have a really extensive connection to each other as a human community, and we're beginning to connect with our community going back in history, and also thinking more deeply about the animal and plant and microbiome community that we're also gardening with as well, so that our notion of community continues to expand to all of the living things and all of the beings that help us create a healthy and sustainable garden. So I want to finish by saying thank you to everybody. I do believe I have the best job at Grow Food Northampton. People might argue with me about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And I want to finish by saying thanks to everybody. We have a healthy, productive, sustainable, and welcoming garden. And if you're interested in a plot, you know where to find me. Thank you. Thanks so much, Pat. Yeah, if you haven't made it down to the garden, definitely make it down there sometime soon. So the last thing we want to talk about are our goals for the next year. I mean, this is a 10-year celebration, and we've been reflecting on all the foundations that we have and all the pivots that we've made this year. But it's really important that we use this time to also look to the future. So with that said, I'll pass it to Alisa to talk about that.
Thank you, Megan. I don't want to keep everyone, we ran long, unfortunately, but we do want to share some of our kind of future visioning, and I want to keep it brief. We also are going to hear briefly from a volunteer, a wonderful volunteer and donor, Melissa Redwin, so I'm going to pass it on to her in a moment. But I do want to emphasize that we are really focused in the coming decade on creating a racially, economically, environmentally just and sound food system for the Northampton area. As you likely know, farms are owned primarily by white people, while farm labor is predominantly brown people, and they are exploited farm workers exposed to pesticides and other harmful chemicals. It is people of color who suffer the most from diet-related illnesses, from food apartheid neighborhoods, where they live, we're committed to working harder and more strategically to address the suppression and these inequities. And the ways that we're going to do that are through conducting a racial justice assessment for the organization, providing training for our staff, our board, our community partners in the future. We're really planning on assessing and redesigning all of our programming to be optimal vehicles for building racial justice in the food system. Michael talked about the fact that we are leasing land to 2 new groups of refugee and immigrant farmers, and we're very excited about that. We will be raising funds that are dedicated specifically to that project to be able to offer them heavily subsidized parcels on our community farm. We want to increase a wider swath of our community as advisors and participants in all of the work that we do, and be able to offer them tools and land, food access with dignity, and access to farming in ways that protect our environment. We are launching on December 1st, we're launching a strategic planning process for about 5 months to really grow and shape our organization to address all of these issues, to diversify our staff moving forward. And I just want to say again, we're so grateful that you're here, and we need you for the long haul. As donors, as volunteers, we need your love, we need your financial support, we need your ideas, we need your labor, your volunteerism, because really a just food system depends on the active participation of all members of our community. So I would like to hand it over to Melissa Redwin, a wonderful person who we are so lucky to have as a donor and as a volunteer with our CFDP, our food distribution project. And Mel, take it away.
Thank you, Alisa. Hi, everybody. I'm Mel. Yeah, and honestly, before this year, I was a donor and supporter. By my starts at Sawmill Farm and Crimson Clover Farm Share, and my kids always want to stop and play on the natural playground. And I live right over the line in West Hampton, so I'm always passing by the community gardens. But this year with COVID, my sweetie actually pulled me into this program, and I was, like many of us might have been, feeling really isolated and feeling like how can I be a part of my community right now? And so going to Meadowbrook neighborhood every week was, I mean, just like one of the most fulfilling and moving experiences I've ever had, really. This is quite a unique moment. And so I really felt plugged in and connected, and just seeing like Francie and Michael and Megan and getting to spend that time with my sweetie Gabby every week. And like, it was just like so joyful, and feeling the motivation of doing, being a part of such important and needed work right now. I just feel like, how did I get to be able to be the person that like handed this amazing juicy red tomato? I didn't grow it. I didn't, to someone and said, thank you. And hey, and how are you going to use it? And it was really like, we were offering recipes, and also people would offer their recipes to us. And there was such like ongoing connection every single week that just fed me through a really, really challenging time. So just like from eggs to blueberries to fresh herbs, I mean, people were just astounded. So it was just like amazing to connect with children, with families, and most importantly to me with elders, because I'm out of my homelands. I'm from the South, and so I'm disconnected from my elders, and to be able to connect with the same people every week. And I'm still connected with some of those folks. Just had a couple of folks that I'm friends with now come and press apples on my farm about a week ago. So it's just like been so meaningful, and I just never would have expected that to continue. So I'm just so grateful to this team, and so grateful for this work, and so grateful for the growth, and to see this, the change and continued transformation that Grow Food Northampton is undergoing. I just like really admire you all and your leadership and this whole community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mel. We want to share, I think we have some slides just to thank all of our incredible donors and volunteers for all of the work that we do. We're going to run through. We have many slides. Thank you to everybody for everything that you have given to us over the last 10 years. We're so grateful. And I hand it back to you, Megan.
Yeah, so that brings us to the closing of our potluck. I know there was a lot of gratitude expressed, but really it feels like not enough because we are virtual right now. But just thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to Clem for joining us, who was the former ED of Grow Food Northampton and brought me to this lovely group. So thank you, Clem, for all the work that you did to set this foundation for the transformations that we are making in the community. If Michael, do you mind going back to that slide? I do want to just say, well, first off, say that feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to plug in to any of our programs. You could check out our website for ways to sign up, or I know I shared a few links in this chat here, so be sure to copy those into a note. Also, we have lots more to share. We might have gone over time, but we would love to share with you just a longer reflection of 10 years of growing in our community, and really honor our heritage and roots for each of our programs and the land. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to send out a digital reflections document this year. So keep an eye out for that. And we're looking forward to connecting with you very soon in some way, shape, or form. So thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Great to see everyone's smiling face.
Thanks, Hope.
Bye. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you. It was awesome. Thank you so much, infinitely, for everything. Amazing. Thank you.
Great to see you, Gwen.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for everything, Megan.
Hi, baby Annette. You're super cute. We didn't get to see Abby, but the baby was enough.
You're focusing the camera on her rather than like vanity. Oh, my hair perfectly poised.
Yeah, she's perfectly poised. I have to admit that during Michael's talk, I had her video pinned. So sorry, Michael.
I forgot to give a shout out.
There she is. She scroll over a couple times.
Speaking, Michael, she was wide awake. She was
I was
looking
like, how do you get that good baby? She's so good. She's just sitting there oh, I'm just so excited.
Do one outfit change in the middle of this call.
I was wondering about that. Yeah, she had a little change scene at some point.
Oh, good. Yeah, really well done, everybody.